Hey guys, welcome back. This is my second attempt at filming this little update on my what used to be plant shelves in my living room and now is just like a quasi plant shelf. A couple of days ago I filmed this video. I did a very brief overview of the shelves and then I segued into a repotting chat. I was chopping up some plants, yammering on as usual, and at the end of it I was like, I'm just gonna check how long I've been filming for. And the camera wasn't recording that whole time. So we're starting over and I'm just gonna slow down and we're just gonna talk about the shelves, and I'll just like talk about like the bits and pieces that are on there and like why I'm doing all this home stuff in the first place. So the dogs are free and roaming. Usually I put them in the kitchen so they're not like running over my camera and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But a lot of you guys want to see the dogs. I don't know why are you being so shy? So anyway, if you've been keeping up with all the little changes I've been making slowly this year, you'll kind of remember what that plant shelf wall looked like. But in case you don't remember, I'm just gonna put up some old footage of when I was showing the shelf, kind of talking about my plans for it. So basically, to sum up, the wall was textured, but very highly textured. It was a little touch that the old owners, the ones right before me, put on the wall, and I kind of liked it in a way when I moved in, and then I grew to hate it so badly. But the thing about texture on walls is that it's really easy to put on but really difficult to make flat again if you got sick of the texture, for example. So it wasn't really an option for me to flatten it again because I don't have that skill and I didn't want to rip out the walls and redo the drywall. So that was one issue that needed to be addressed. The second issue was that they were two IKEA Vizio shelves that kind of darkened the room quite a bit. There was a lot of black and it just felt very cold and hard, and I don't think I ever really loved it from the start, but I tried to make it work. I tried different configurations, styling it with different kinds of plants, changing up the lighting, but just the scale of it and everything, I just couldn't make it work. So I decided that they had to go, and over the course of this process probably started in the summer. I started selling plants, purging plants, throwing things out that had been infested with mealybugs for years. I said that I wanted to get this done by Christmas, and over the course of like a few weekends here and there, I was finally able to chip away at the project and it's now done. I decided I wanted track walls on this shelf, very similar to what I have upstairs. So I'm using the IKEA bow axle system again. There are tons of basic track shelf system options out there, and there's some very beautiful ones, mostly out of Europe, that aren't as accessible here, so I'd be importing them and it would cost a lot more money. So I decided to go with the old faithful, which is IKEA. If I ever wanted to customize it, which I probably will, if I want to add more shelves, really easy to zip over to IKEA and just pick it up. It was really inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. I was able to get the cost of this whole system down to, including tax, I paid $180. 180 something dollars. I used gift cards and stuff like that to make it work that way, but this cost me very little, but the impact is huge. Around the beginning of this year, I abandoned the idea that this wall would be a plant shelf and just like a wall, like a jungle wall. I wanted it to be a shelf of my things with some plants on it. I scoured Pinterest and I accumulated all these reference photos with like ideas on how to style the shelves, how to, the configurations of where the shelves would go, how they were paired with other furniture in the context of whatever space, like whether it be a living room, dining area. Mine happens to be in a dining area, but that dining area doubles as like a day office for me and my boyfriend when we work from home. And I came up with a configuration that I quite like, but the beauty of the track shelf is that if I change my mind on the configuration, I can easily customize it again. I didn't film any of the installation, so if you are interested in installing it, you just kind of want a visual of it because IKEA doesn't have very strong instructions. I will leave a link to the plant shelf installation where I did go more in detail on the installation part. Before I started filming this video, I realized I never really explained to you guys why I'm so emotionally invested in all these updates I've been doing this year. So I'm going to tell you the origin story. So we just came up to 6 years we moved into this house. There was some updates done previously to the house in terms of like a bigger renovation that we wouldn't have been able to undertake. And some of them have been pretty nice, but mostly they're just either not our taste or wasn't installed very well. So the past couple of years, we've been doing small little bits of fixing up poor installations and just making things a little bit more nicer and just more us. But the thing I think that was the main catalyst was a couple of years ago, the CBC was doing kind of like a houseplant series. So they were going into people's houses, interviewing them, houseplant people, mostly on YouTube or Instagram. And they asked me if they could come and film my place. And in the end, I turned them down. It was quite a cool opportunity, but part of it was I felt uneasy about handing over the creative control, the filming and the editing to a crew that didn't know me, for an audience that wasn't my audience. And while I probably could have gotten over that, the main thing was that I didn't feel like my house represented me. I didn't feel super at home in my house. It was a place where I came to like pass out after work every day. At the time, I was doing a job that I felt like it was my calling, but at the same time, I was severely undervalued, doing the job of 2 to 3 people at any given time, and I was very burnt out and my mental health was in a poor state because of it. So I couldn't even prioritize myself and my surroundings even if I wanted to. So that's the context of when I was asked to do that houseplant feature. And then I kind of internalized that and was like, I got to do something about this. So after I quit my job, I've been progressing towards making these small little things and then building my confidence on my ability. I can just like freaking do it myself. And by myself, I mean like me and my boyfriend together do a lot of this stuff. We've never hired anyone to do any of these small improvements, and budget has dictated the speed I was able to go. So it's been a very slow, methodical process, which is a huge blessing because in that time, I was able to get to know myself a bit more, what I like and my preferences, what makes me feel at home. I've also been able to slowly decouple myself from what I truly like and what I'm told I should like through clever marketing, targeted ads, that kind of stuff. So at this point, I feel like a lot of progress has been made in terms of changing this house into something that I thought I would like, because that's what I was familiar with. And if I put in a Google search for, I don't know, like a rug or something, this is what like the internet is feeding back to me. So this year has been a lot of shedding those items that I think were just what I thought I should have to furnish and make a home, and adding back things that actually resonate with me and bringing things back out from storage or whatever of old things I own that I actually have a history with, and incorporating that into my general surroundings. So this second round of filming this video, I wanted to take a little bit more time on talking about the items and stuff, because I think this is quite a healing process for me. And also it probably could be helpful if anyone is like me, and I know I'm not the only one who is transitioning out of a very plant-packed house and kind of reclaiming the space back for some of non-plant things, but incorporating plants in there sporadically. And to be clear, this is not about designing a space that is for social media that represents an aesthetic that is trendy, because I'm not a trendy kind of person. I'm the last person to ever even know about a trend, let alone follow it. I don't know what's going on. I'm not on TikTok. This is more about chasing that feeling of coming home and feeling so safe and so relaxed, and that's what I want for both me and my boyfriend. And so it's a lot about balancing like both of our preferences at the same time, and it's been so rewarding and so fun. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the shelf and what's on it and do a little bit of a tour of the plants and yeah, just the stuff I decided to put on the shelf for now, because it's not quite done yet, and you will see very shortly. So this is what the shelf looks like now. I went with the white on white, which is kind of original Boaxel. So upstairs I have the black tracks with the wood effect shelves. I didn't want so much wood in this room because it was starting to feel like warm overload. There's my dining table and this vintage dresser that I got earlier this year. So I'm quite pleased with the white on white. The only thing is, I don't know why, but the barcode stickers on the white accessories and on the shelves are very hard to take off. I realized I didn't have that problem with the black and the wood effect. They came off really easily, but this, I was not able to get any of the stickers off cleanly. Even when I heated up the stickers, they didn't come off very easily. So that's one nuisance about the white on white, but otherwise it's basically the same. And you wouldn't really see it, so you might even get away with not removing them at all. But I just found it a little bit annoying because I can't stand a sticker that doesn't peel off off easily. So this is kind of the first pass at styling the shelves. I just threw on stuff that was in the living room that needed a place to go, and I'll be adding to it later, and I might even add a couple of shelves here and there, not in a huge rush to do so, but right now I just have 2 sections for plants. These are all the plants that remain of my living room plants, minus my Millsville cabinet, which is still there. So this shelf is a little bit more for succulents, but as you can see, my booby cactus is like touching the ceiling, so I probably have to adjust the heights there. And then I have this section of trailing plants, so of my Ripsalis paradoxa, Cissus quadrangularis, and Ripsalis capilliformis. I'm not really sold on having these hanging plants here because, first of all, in the context of a shelf that is not just for plants, a trailing thing like this covers everything here, which is fine right now because I don't have anything for display. The reason why I didn't put grow lights on yet is because I might be moving the shelves. So what I plan to do is use Barina T5s. I used to have Monios T5s on the Vidsto shelf, but the Monios reads a little bit wider than the Barinas. I find Barinas to be a little bit more pleasing to the eye, more closely aligned with like a Soltec temperature. So my plan was to put a Barina at the very front of the shelf above the plants, and I wanted to use white electrical tape to manage the cables. So I needed to make sure I had a confirmed spot for the plants before putting any lights on it. I also kind of wanted to test it on one shelf to see if it looked too messy with a light source back there competing with this light source here, because that's one thing I didn't really like about the old shelf, is that it looked so kind of jarring sometimes. So I still have my Dracaena marginata. I have my Dracaena reflexa Song of India. These are all the plant pots that I didn't have a shelf for. I was thinking to put some closed storage down here for things that I don't want to see, like plant pots and stuff. I want to take my time looking around for something that would fit here because it's a very specific kind of measurements that would fit here. But I wanted to show you this one reference photo I've been looking at because I quite like that red boxy all the way to the ground closed storage system. I've been strangely into red lately, but specifically kind of darker reds, some burgundies and things like that. So anyway, this is a bit messy on the floor right now, but it's not the end of the world. So here are the plants on the kind of succulent-y shelf. I didn't get rid of this one, even though I don't really care too much about it because it's completely healthy. It's never had mealybugs. Here's my booby cactus, which I really love. These are not supposed to be in here. These are leaves that fell off another succulent, an Echeveria, and I just like let it be, and they grew into very stretched little plants, and I just left it there. A little euphorbia thing that I got from Sarah Lavoie. This is a Haworthia I got from Jing ages ago, and I used to have it in terracotta. It's been in terracotta this whole time. This was Jing's pot, and I could never get it fully hydrated, so I just added this like glass vessel around it. It's kind of like touching the water, and it plumped up so much. It started flowering and it started to pup, so it's obviously much happier now. I bet Jing doesn't even remember that she gave me this plant. This is Lophophora williamsii, which looks quite crusty, but it has grown a few more in this pot because I only started out with these two. I do want to repot it soon, but I also know that this needs way more sun than I'm able to give it, so it's never gonna look amazing. This is, I forget the name of it, but I found this at Lowe's. It was a variegated one in a tray of regular ones. If you guys know the name, please remind me. I don't remember what it is. I remember it was sold at something and people were saying in the comments that's not actually the ID. And this is one of 2 Hoya that remain in my collection. The other one I'm actually going to get rid of. So this is going to be the last one remaining, my variegated compacta. The Hoya compacta is my favorite Hoya of all time, and the variegated one I just find so beautiful. It does have mealybugs, so I would love to put this into my Millsville cabinet, but it doesn't seem so bad right now. So maybe I just need to be a bit more diligent, but I don't trust that it's not going to infect my cabinet if I were to put it in there. But look how pretty it is. And the new growth is quite white. I grew it from 2 little cuttings, like little nubbins. So a little ball, little ball. I actually killed one of them. So this is actually one of them that has branched into 2. So it's one single plant. And that's about 5 years of growth. On the other side of the dining table, this is such a huge mess. Believe it or not, I had purged maybe about 40% of my glass vessels, and I still have tons, and this is not even all of it. This is just way too excessive. I'm probably going to do another donation round this weekend of at least 50% of this, if not more. And then these boxes are just a mixture of donations and painting supplies, which I can finally put away once I'm done painting, which I'm not done painting. So this level here is intentionally a little bit more empty and kind of similar to the height of the dining table, because I kind of see this as somewhat of an extension of a desk. It's not just a display shelf. I want this to be the most functional layer of the plant shelf. And under here, I have my Herman Miller filing cabinet I got earlier this year. If you're local in Vancouver, check out Evergreen Office Spaces. They have secondhand office furniture, a lot of Herman Miller, and it's a lot cheaper. It tends to be slightly more damaged. You have to pick through and find the best condition ones because they are used in actual offices, so much higher traffic. They're used by employees. They're kind of not taken care of as much, but you can find this one just needed a bit of magic eraser and it's basically like brand new. And I tucked this in under here, which I am so happy with because I have really easy access to stationery here. And then when I'm done working, I have a place for my laptop to go. So my dining room doesn't look like an office all of the time. If you guys will remember my ceramic dumpling that I got earlier this year, I'm so excited. I've had this marked in my calendar for ages. The Got Craft market is coming back. The holiday market is in a couple of weeks. I am going to be there. I'm going to buy more of this stuff. Oh, also, before I forget, I just want to talk about the walls. I know a lot of people don't care, but I'm very proud of how this turned out. So just as a reminder, this is what the texture of the wall looked like. It was very highly textured. It was maybe like some sort of plaster. I don't know what they used, and they kind of slapped it on. A lot of the high parts stuck out of the wall a lot, and I think they might have spray painted. It didn't seem like roller texture, but it was a ultra paper white matte paint, which looked so dry all the time. So I have a rule now in my house, no matte paint, eggshell at the minimum. So what I wanted to do was maybe try to take the texture down a little bit so that the tracks can go on flat onto the wall. So I took a putty knife and I just tested whether I could chip off some of that texture, and it was actually pretty soft. So I was able to take putty knife with a dustpan underneath, and I was just kind of knocking off the highest points. And it took me about an hour and a half to kind of go over the wall and then go back over and just to see if any like of the high points were missed. And in the end, the texture is so much less harsh. And then I painted over it with Dove White by Benjamin Moore in eggshell. Shout out to whoever told me that to paint over texture walls, you just need a roller with a higher nap, longer nap, which is something I didn't know, but it worked a treat. It's not as bright white anymore. And even though I think I would prefer for it to be flat, I don't mind this anymore. It just looks so much of a healthier wall with a little bit of sheen on it. So one thing I wanted to do this year is to read more. I tried to do it more as a nighttime thing right before bed. The biggest challenge is not wanting to read like at least 15 minutes before bed. The challenge is getting to bed early enough so that I can have the light on, be reading without waking up my boyfriend. So that's the biggest challenge. It's just kind of a scheduling thing. This is not the only books we have, but it's mainly the books that I feel like are keepers. This is like a learning book, but it's Hospitality Bible. This was like everything that I learned about hospitality, the things I implemented, what I strive to be in hospitality. This is it. This is by Danny Meyer, who is the founder of Shake Shack, but he was a fine dining restaurateur. He implemented some of these hospitality principles in Shake Shack. I don't know to what success, but there's so many good lessons here. You don't have to listen to all of them, but I do think anyone who wants to do a good job in hospitality and find more meaning in hospitality should read this book. Even if you're like really into restaurants and things like that, this will give you so much more appreciation on the art of hospitality. If you ever watched The Bear and you loved Richie's come up story and his character arc, there's a lot of similarities in what he learned in this book. Similarly, there's this book, which is by Colin Harmon. He's the founder of 3FE, which is a coffee company in Ireland. So this is what I know about running coffee shops. And it's just kind of practical information. There's so many people starting coffee businesses that aren't in coffee, never worked in coffee, never worked in operations, which is fine. That's your prerogative. It's your investment, but they never like take the time to actually learn it from the ground up. It's like, is it beneath you to work the job of barista? Is it beneath you to be a dishwasher, a baker, when that is literally the meat and bones of your business? I don't think so. But in terms of running a coffee business, a restaurant business, it often is overcomplicated when it's not like an actual operations person in charge. But beyond all the practical information in this book, it's also a very beautifully designed book. I actually have 2 copies of this book. I don't know why. I think I have one and my boyfriend has one, possibly. And he lent one to a coworker. And this is the state that he brought this book back in. It's all like bent at the corners. It's super faded. Do not ever do this if someone lends you a book. It's so disrespectful. What else is there? This is a book of poetry by a friend. This is called I See You, I Am You. She's local here to Vancouver. Another Vancouver local book. I've referenced this before, but this is The Measure of My Powers by Jackie Kai Ellis. She was the founder of Boku Bakery, but she sold the business. But this is kind of like a somewhat autobiography, but the chocolate chip cookie recipe that I make every year that I've made on camera, it's from this book. There's like some really simple ones like how to make dumplings, how to make scrambled eggs on toast, and some more involved, like kind of with French technique stuff because she studied pastry in Paris. But this book I read during COVID and I quite liked it. It's probably one of those books that I would reread again just to see if I can get something different out of it second time around. And there's some photography books. This one is by Martin Parr. I don't know if you guys know Martin Parr. He's a British photographer. His style is very candid, everyday British life. And this one is all like beaches and ocean. He just photographs people out in public, festivals, things like that. It would be really cool to own at least a print of his. Here's another one I quite liked. But I'm excited to have a reason to start buying more books because right now these are not like kind of story books, kind of books you can get lost in for the most part. They're more like books for knowledge. I mean, that doesn't apply to all these books, but a lot of them are either books with sentimental value, gifts, or books with knowledge that I refer back to. So I want to add more storybooks because I'd rather spend my time doing that. I've been keeping off of social media a little bit more. I don't really scroll Instagram. Like I said, I don't have TikTok and I'm trying to not be spending too much time with that because I think that's one of the reasons why I was so lost in my self-identity because I wasn't prioritizing myself in my day-to-day life, but I also didn't prioritize getting to know myself for what I like. And the more I'm on social media doom scrolling, the more I feel like it's just a lot of noise. That's not to say I don't doom scroll because my willpower is not that strong, but when I do more of that, I start to feel a little bit muddy in the head. And this is a little bit of a tangent, but with like AI being absolutely everywhere, even places where it has no place being, I feel like I have an even stronger instinct to slow down even more rather than get faster. So I'm trying to slow down and be methodical, intentional, thoughtful about choices that I make, trying to be aware of what emotional state I'm in when I'm making said choices, whether it's mundane little ordinary choices or something a little bit more profound. One other thing I want to do on this side, so this is like the pass to the kitchen. I still need to paint this wall, which I haven't done because there's just some things we need to fix up. But once that's done, I'm going to be changing all these brackets for just like simple L-shaped brackets. And then I found this at IKEA, this little 2-pack of hooks. It's like a dark green and it's got a little bit of a spray paint texture on it. I think these might be iron. So this is a 2-pack for like either $3 or $4. And I was going to put them, or at least one of them, here. It'll kind of be hidden underneath the counter, but this would be where like our bags go at the end of the day rather than going on a chair. I think that would look quite neat. But this idea came to me as I was going to bed one day. I was like, oh my goodness, a hook would be so much nicer. And just imagine like all this junk on the floor is gone. Anyways, I think I've said as much as I can say about that shelf. I've been adding a lot more of these home focused videos into my channel this year. And I know it's not for everyone, but hopefully I was able to explain why it has been taking so much of my brain space. But if you were to ask me now if I would allow a film crew into my house, I'm not 100% sure I would say yes, but I'm a little bit more inclined to entertain the thought. So I guess that's progress. But now the sun is setting and it's looking rather yellow on the viewfinder. So I'm gonna leave you here. I need to bathe these dogs. I need to mop the floors. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!